Kimberly Bauer, sharp and bright, walked the halls in neon light. Through CTU, where secrets spin, she chased the truth. She walked within, a whisper soft, a shadow thin, a name she knew, yet draped in sin. Kim, wait up. The voice so sleek, a spectre she had sworn to seek. There stood Nina, dark and cool, her smirk a blade, her stance a rule. They say you're sharp, your mind is keen, but do you know what's never seen? Kim stepped back. Shouldn't she be dead? Yet there she stood, her lips blood red. A ghost, a trick, some twisted ploy, or truth wrapped up in dark decoy. You're in the dark, Nina grinned. CTU won't let you in. Want to know what's really real? Step inside, let's cut the seal. Kim should have run, should have fled, but shadows lure and doubt is fed. A door ajar, a whispered name, a flickering screen, a shadowed frame. Upon it danced, how odd, how slick. A rabbit white with watch that ticked. Step inside, the pixel said. Seek the truth or lose your head. A joke, a trick, some analyst's ruse. Yet forward stepped with naught to lose. A hum, a pulse, a world gone slack. She stumbled through and never came back. CTU hummed, its gears well oiled, where Chloe kept the data coiled. Personnel and leaders stood, infrastructure strong as wood. Kim, take note, said Chloe, snide. The pillars hold, they won't subside. Kim smiled, assured, her laptop bright. All seemed well, the world was right. Then in they strode, all crisp and neat. Doge men marched with measured beat, suits of grey and vacant eyes, filing memos neat and wise. Efficiency, they barked aloud. Fewer minds, the brains too proud. Leadership a bloated mess. Infrastructure, cut excess. Chloe, frowning, clicked and typed. But data drained, all files wiped. Staff blinked out like fleeting sparks. CTU dimmed in fading arcs. Kim whirled. Where once stood busy halls, now stretched a void of endless falls. Papers drifted, memos swam, a ghostly echo fading, damn. Where was Chloe? Where the team? CTU was but a dream. Doors led nowhere, floors dissolved. The world had shifted, warped, revolved. A terminal blinked, one clue remained, a single file that fate ordained. Eat me. Typed in Chloe's hand, Kim clicked and shrank into the land. The field was buzzing, swift and tight. Tony Almeida, sharp and right, led his agents crisp and sure, a workforce trained, their minds secure. The mission's clear, he told the team, a stable squad, a well-oiled scheme. Kim beside him, cool and shrewd, watched the system, understood. But Doge appeared, oh, sharp and tall, a clipboard man with Cheshire drawl. Too many hands, he purred and grinned, efficiency must now begin. Tony frowned but signed the page as agents vanished stage by stage. Layoffs, cuts, the numbers burned. A ghostly CTU returned. Kim turned, but where had Tony gone? His face was blank, his words withdrawn. The team dissolved, the halls went mute, the air grew thick with creeping soot. Memos danced in looping swirls, agents turned to paper curls. A whisper spoke, a hollowed cry. We serve the mission. But why? But why? From the mist, a ticking sound, a rabbit's watch upon the ground. Kim grasped it, time reversed. Through broken halls she swam, head first. The archives stood, a fortress tall. Edgar Stiles had read them all. Threat reports assessed with care, patterns traced with watchful stare. The past, he said, it keeps us wise. Our failures teach, our caution ties. Kim watched him work, his fingers light, each record placed, each risk in sight. A clap, a laugh, a Humpty scowl. Doge had come to take a prowl. Your files are bloated, out of date, compressed, delete, efficiency's fate. Edgar wavered, shuffled fast. Threat reports were made the past. Warnings, memos gone, expunged, memory held in lungs, just lunged. Kim gasped. The world grew thin, events rewound, began again. She watched the past repeat and fail. Again, a broken tale, ignored, forgot, dismissed, erased. The cycle spun, disaster-laced. Lessons learned were wiped away, and so the threats would never stay. Kim spied, oh there, a pocket watch, spinning numbers, time awash. She turned the dial just one small twist. The looping past ceased to exist. Curtis Manning, standing tall, led ops with caution, heedful of all. Terror cells and cyber spies, tracked by Curtis's watchful eyes. Foreign networks on the rise, he noted. We counter quick, we analyze. Kim observed the grand design, a system sharp, each thread in line. Doge's Tweedle, plump and neat, bowed and grinned, then took his seat. Efficiency, he cooed and sighed. The budget swells, must be applied. Curtis frowned but signed the sheet. Cuts fell fast, precise, discreet. Cyber teams were scaled to none. Foreign operations left halfway done. A shudder. Time bent sideways round. Kim gasped as cores collapsed to sound. A mission doomed, a target dead, but wait, it hadn't happened yet? Footsteps echoed in reverse, files restored, then lost, worse. Decisions wavered, ran askew, past and future merged anew. Curtis turned, eyes blank and cold. The operation was fine, or so I'm told. His lips repeated, one last line, the operation was fine, the operation was fine. Kim reached, a pair of tactical goggles, Curtis's own, now warped with boggles. Through the lens, she saw her path and ran through yesterday's aftermath. CTU's servers, stacked and vast, buzzed as Arlo glass ran past. Secure, encrypted, firewall tight, a fortress braced for any fight. Systems clean. Arlo hummed, no breaches, risks, or data dumbed. Kim, assured, peered through the glass, a network strong, built to last. Doge's walrus, round and grim, waddled in, his face too prim. Too much tech, too many walls, he exclaimed. Streamline it, remove these stalls. Arlo, sweating, typed delete. Firewalls crashed, defenses beat. Cameras blinked, then turned askew. Security now thin as dew. Doors stretched long or shrank to none. Hallways twisted, corridors spun. Kim reached left, but turned up right. The world unsynced, warped out of sight. Arlo clutched his head in woe. Where's my desk? Where'd it go? His servers hummed a hollow sound, a system nowhere to be found. Kim turned. A dozen doors, each one leading. Outdoors? She stepped through one, then fell, and fell. Security no longer well. On the ground, a shrinking cake, Arlo's lunch, a grave mistake, she took a bite. Her form compressed, and through the halls she repossessed. CTU's boardroom, lined in steel, where Bill Buchanan sat to deal. Briefing sharp, intelligence clear, a meeting place for those who steer. Terror cells, track, observe, deploy the teams, stay on the curve. Kim watched Bill's calm decree, each choice swift, each step free. Doge's march with perfect poise spoke in calm, efficient noise. Decisions stall with too much talk, he argued. We must slow down, rewind the clock. Bill sat stiff, his eyes grew wide, a paper signed. His will complied, briefing stalled, all hands stood still, waiting on a single quill. Decisions, trapped in endless queues, policies locked in tangled views. We must assess before we act, review the facts, then re-review the facts. Kim watched meetings wrap, then start again, the very same part. One choice gone, then newly made, yet all remained, a looping blade. Bill stood frozen, eyes on glass, staring, watching time amass. He murmured, stilled, his lips ajar. This is how decisions are. Kim saw his briefing notes, scrawled in red with twisted quotes, but upside down they formed a map. She traced the way, then broke the trap. Inside a room of walls so bare, Dr. Landis pulled a chair. Sit, relax, assess the mind, strong and sharp, a force refined. Kim complied, the test was set. Profiles clear, no trace of threat. Analysts spoke, their words ran free, a workforce sure in certainty. But Doge's march, all crisp and neat, stepped inside with measured beat. We've noted risk, we've seen the signs, your workforce thrives, but disinclines. Landis frowned, his fingers tight, his instincts told him Doge was right. Too much speech breeds too much doubt. Better hush, just leave things out. Kim recoiled. Was he serious? His gaze grew dark, thoughts delirious. Fear began its quiet spread as silence wrapped around their heads. Kim gasped. The room grew tight. Words dissolved into the night. Hands to lips, the agents froze, self-censored minds in silent throes. Landis stared but never spoke, eyes wide like mirrors broke. Kim turned, but her mouth was sealed. Her thoughts erased, her voice repealed. From the walls the whispers came, a hollow echo, words in flame. Speak too loud, the walls will hear. Better quiet. Dissolve in fear, a flicker. A voice so rough yet light, a whisper sharp but strong, forthright. Say the name that Doge defies and watch their game meet its demise. Kim forced the words, her throat igniting. Jack Bauer, the room went blinding. Walls cracked wide, the silence shattered. Doge's grip now torn and tattered. The country's fate, a fragile thread tracked by Michelle with maps widespread. Threats assessed, the models sure, CTU holds the nation's core. Kim stood close, observed the flow, each crisis tracked, each fault below. Michelle mapped it, clear and right, a future safe, a world in sight. But Doge's queen, so prim and tall, marched within the briefing hall. Your systems work, but lack a twist. You must ignore what might exist. Michelle froze, her models blurred, new projections all deferred. Data points began to twist, threats erased, they don't exist. Kim stepped back, her mind alert. The past had changed, rewritten dirt. No attacks, no plots to foil. The world dissolved in shifting soil. The maps now bled, their borders torn, the timelines split, rewound, reborn. Terror strikes both here and gone, events unmade, relooped, redrawn. Michelle turned. Her face was two, one that saw and one that knew. Which is right, she asked with glee. What is real, the threat or me? The country cracked, a world misplaced. Kim stood still, yet in two space. A mirror lay upon the ground, yet none reflected in its round. Kim stepped forth, then through the pain, escaping threats that changed their name. Karen Hayes, so sharp and stern, kept the agencies in turn. Policy must weave as one, coordination must be spun. Kim observed the careful ties, each department linked so wise. No division, all stood whole, the government, a single soul. Then in the hall, a sneaky creep, Doge's hatter half asleep. Too much order, far too tight, let's unweave this thread of light. Karen frowned, but signed the page, a fractured world, the new adage. One by one the bridges broke, agencies turned, their wrath awoke. Kim recoiled. The war began. Departments fell like shifting sand. A single order, once so sure, now splintered into strife obscure. One CTU, oh not anymore, it shattered wide in grudging war. Law turned lawless, ties unmade, allies lost, their debt unpaid. Karen stood, her stance unsure. Who do I serve? Who must endure? One side whispered, Doge knows best. Another cried, we must contest. The world became an endless fight, truth divided left and right. A rabbit's mark upon a key etched in silver set Kim free. Through a door so swift, so slight, she fled into the endless night. Through tunnels dark and halls unseen, Kim walked beside Renee Dean. Deep within the data hive, secrets kept the world alive. Here's the list, said Renee's tone. Spies we trust but never known. Every asset safe and sound, each disguise a world unbound. If enemies should steal these names, they'd burn us all in fire's flames. Kim exhaled, secure and tight. The files locked in endless night. Then Doge's walrus, grinning wide, stepped into the system's side. Open files, expose the spies, information never lies. Renee's hands, once swift and sure, hesitated. Was Doge pure? A flickering doubt, a moment thin, and all the locks fell from within. Let the people know the cost. If spies must burn, then so be lost, Kim cried out, but it was done. Each secret named, each mask undone. Then walls collapsed. The world grew thin. Allies turned, their foes within. Renee screamed, a dozen spies, their names erased from knowing eyes. Foreign voices called her name, spoken sharp from lips the same. Did we know them? Were they real? Or just illusions we reveal? The world divided, then unmade, truth dissolved like ink in shade. Kim stood still, she knew the cost. The game was broken, the world was lost. A hand so firm, so real, so true, pulled Kim out and through and through. A voice, deep, hoarse, so sharp, so clear. Run, kid, get the hell out of here. She turned. The rabbit stood revealed, her dad, Jack Bauer, in flesh and steel. Kim stared, her father whole, his gaze was fierce, his stance was cold. They flipped the game, they changed the rules, and now they think we're all their fools. This is it, Jack's voice was steel. No more rules, no more deals. Doge rewrote what's left behind. We take the world or lose our minds. Kim exhaled, her choice was made. Doge would fall or be unmade. Inside the tower at the throne, the Jabberwock sat alone. Doge's leader, cloaked in grey, eyes like voids, a mind in fray. We did no wrong, it cried in glee. We simply shaped reality. You were drowning in the past, so we made it free at last. The world around began to bend as logic ceased, reached nowhere's end. Doge was laughing, sharp and wild. Efficiency's truth must be compiled. Doge shattered, glass and screams. Their world collapsed, undone at seams. Yet Jack knew, he saw too well, the real world wasn't whole, but hell. Kim, it's gone. We lost the play. CTU's not the same today. He led her up through walls once true, back to where the real world grew. But what was real? What had remained? Kim stepped out. The world had changed. CTU was not the same yet, nor was she, nor was the game. Terror thrived, but hidden deep, Doge had forced the world asleep. Jack's hand held tight, his voice so grim they bought the dream. We don't fit in. The doors were shut, the halls unlit. CTU stood, but altered, split. The agents watched, their eyes aware they'd seen the truth but couldn't share. Jack turned, a simple phrase. "We fight, kid. We change the plays." Kim nodded, her world now clear. Doge had fed, but lingered near. Kim emerged, but not alone, a world not hers, not quite her own. CTU stood, a force betrayed, yet in the dark a fire made. Chloe O'Brien, her gaze like knives, barked, "They've gutted half our drives." Tony leaned, his smirk now slight. "We're off the books, but not the fight." Karen Hayes, her stance now firm. Doge believes they own the term, but we remain. We see the ruse, we hold the thread, we light the fuse. Jack stepped forward, gaze so tight we don't report, we don't ask right. They built the dream, they wrote the lie, and now they've left us all to die. But the looking glass had changed them all, not just Kim, but those who saw. They'd glimpsed the beast behind the veil, and now their fight would tip the scale.